Yes, boy!
This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome to the latest and, dare I say, greatest episode of Who's Next. I am Andy Atherton, one of your co-hosts. We are here to break down the latest month of NXT television, as well as an NXT PLE. That is a premium live event. And I am not here alone to do it. My co-host, he's the guy that really carries my ass in this tag team. That's Logan Crosland. Logan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Andy. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back here. We've had a really fun month on the NXT brand, and I think we're getting into a really hot season there with the build to Stand and Deliver, which is their WrestleMania coming up, and lots of I think, and then after that, I think we got some changes on the horizon. We got to have some call ups. I think there's going to be some new directions for some people, and it's an exciting time, I think, at the brand. What do you think?
No, yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. The build to Mania on the main roster is a big deal, and also for the NXT guys, build to the Stand and Deliver is always a big time of the year. It's the biggest show that they have. It's one of the, other than just going back on the road for Vengeance Day, but it's usually one of the only times they get out of their little comfort zone of the PC. So obviously they just had Vengeance Day in Charlotte, but they'll have Stand and Deliver in Los Angeles. So the more exposure these guys get, the more that they can perform in front of more than just the regular PC crowd. It can only help the talent themselves, and only provide more fun for the fans in attendance. So I think it's a ton of fun, and really awesome for them.
Yeah, and we will get to Vengeance Day, but we have a couple of episodes to break down before we get there to complete the build up to that event, which was, by the way, it was a great event. So nice to see them in a big arena again on the road, and the crowd. I tell you, that was one of the highest crowds we saw, and it got topped this past weekend at Elimination Chamber. That Charlotte was hot, and like I said, we'll get to there, but it was really it felt so good as a fan of the brand to see them, as somebody who's been to I've been to 2 takeovers myself in arenas in Brooklyn and in Bridgeport, and those are the I gotta say they're so much fun to go to. They just put on such a great show, and the wrestling is usually very top notch. So. All right, so let's go all the way back to January 24th, and we start off with Grayson Waller, his Instagram of the brawl with him and Braun at the PC. Then we get into our first match of the night, which is Indy Hartwell versus Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany has new music and entrance. Indy comes out a bit more aggressive. Tiffany ends up faking a knee injury and hits an impressive leaping moonsault for the win. So I really think Tiffany is... she came back so strong that springing moonsault she hit looked really great. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, this was obviously a showcase to get Tiffany Stratton back in the ring. I think this might have been her first match. Maybe she had one before this, but definitely to showcase her. And yeah, she hits the Christopher Daniels best moonsault ever as a finisher now, but she does it even better because she springs off of all of the ropes instead of just the middle and top rope. So really impressive stuff. I thought it was a pretty good match. It like I said, it was just to kind of get Tiffany Stratton back in the ring, and Indy's a good person to kind of throw her in there with to get her legs back under. So I thought it was a solid match. Yeah,
and definitely see a change in Tiffany where, her character was pretty good from the get-go, the spoiled little daddy's girl, but now she's like kind of taking that Mandy almost, but a bit more athletic than Mandy, I'm thinking, and I could see her getting a title run over the summer before going up to the...
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think she's on the on the fast track. I think she's going to be fast tracked. So, all right. So then we get a recap. Go ahead.
I think she'll definitely be probably one of the next champions or so. I think she might be a person that ends up. It might be a little bit longer down the road, but I think she'll end up probably being the person that takes it off of Roxanne.
Yeah, quite possibly. If it's not a couple others, yeah, I think she's definitely in the discussion to be the one to unseat Roxanne when that time comes. Speaking of Roxanne, we get a recap of the tag match between Roxanne and Lyra Valkyria at Toxic Attraction from the previous week. JC Jane has an interview. She talks down Gigi. We get highlights from the Creeds training with Drew Gulak and his guys. Drew spars with Julius. It gets heated. Then we get Chase Hugh with the Thea Hale award ceremony for getting her first win. We get a "That's Not PG" chant. And we get JD McDonough interrupting, talks down Chase Hugh, tells Duke to control his dog, meaning Thea. And Chase hits JD out of the ring. And we get an Andre Chase versus JD McDonough match with some good back and forth. Duke gets pissed off on the outside and ends up walking out, leading to JD beating Andre Chase. So the Chase U thing is continuing on. We get, they're trying to create some dissension in the JC Jane, Gigi Dolan thing leading up to Vengeance Day. We get the Creeds continuing on with the Drew Gulak stuff, and this Chase U. Thea is so great. I gotta tell you, she plays her character to a T. Still not sure where the end game of this Chase U thing is gonna go. So, what are you thinking here with the Thea Hale thing? And we get actually a pretty decent match between Andre and JD out of it.
Yeah, I thought the match was really good. I think Chase is super underrated as an in-ring talent, and JD's awesome, as I've talked about in the past. But Thea's awesome. She's a little pit bull, constant ball of energy, she's like a ping pong ball bouncing off of everywhere. So, she's really great. I like the little celebration they held for her. I don't really know. I feel like they sort of start to go in a direction with Duke kind of starting to, fade in a way, and then I feel like at some point he's like super into it and like super over the top with his love for Chase U. So I don't really know where they're going with it. And I think they'll kind of trend back more into the like he really loves Chase U and is all in on the them being a tag team and constantly getting wins and stuff like that. But I'm not real sure what their idea with that is.
It's been hard to read.
And then the whole. Yeah, for sure. And then the whole Drew Gulak thing, training with the Creeds, we'll obviously get to it in a later episode, but I think it's just more signs that Drew's kind of maybe not the nice guy that he claims to be. Yeah, a wolf in sheep's clothing
kind of thing he's going with. Mm-hmm. So then we get Kiana James, Fallon Henley, Briggs and Jensen backstage. We get Fallon Henley and Kiana James versus Ivy Now and Tatum Paxley. Fallon and Kiana are playing frenemies basically with a fine match. Kiana being a heel while Fallon is being a face, and Fallon gets the win by pinning Ivy Nile. Then we get New Day backstage. We get Blade and Inoue joining them. Schism then shows up, and we get the announced the tag team invitational for the next week. And then we get the barbershop with Apollo Crews stopping by, shows highlights of their feud with him and Carmelo. Mello and Trick then show up. They just jaw at each other, set up the Vengeance Day best 2 out of 3 falls. So they're starting to kind of give some background to the frenemy angle that they're running with Fallon and Kiana. I have some thoughts on where they may go with Ivy and Tatum, but I'll save that for later on in the episode. But I do really like this tag team of Fallon and Kiana. What are your thoughts on them as they head towards a big event coming up for them?
Yeah, they seem to work pretty well together in the ring for some reason. So I've enjoyed what they've done so far. I thought this match was pretty good. It didn't last super long. It was only 3 minutes, but I thought they worked really well together, and I'll talk more about that when we get to the PLE match that they had. But yeah, I thought Fallon and Kiana continue to grow in the ring, so I enjoy their team, even though they might not be the best of friends outside of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we get Hank Walker and Drew Gulak versus the Creeds. Creeds look really solid in this. Charlie Dempsey shows up. Drew makes Hank go it alone for a bit. The Creeds win with the Brutus Ball. Creeds then get on the microphone and give Ivy props. Indus interrupts, challenges them to a match finally. And then we get Gigi Dolan interviewing, talking down JC, basically the same thing that JC did to her. And we get a little, I guess, package with Tony D and Staggs eating lunch in a private room. So with the Creeds here, you think they're kind of treading water right now till something bigger comes along, or you think there's something on the horizon with them and Drew? Because Drew's building something, and I think the Creeds could be part of it. Although I gotta say, I'm really thinking they're better off as faces than going back to being heels. What do you think on them?
Yeah, they definitely. I think they're definitely better as faces, like you said. They definitely need a direction. I feel like, obviously, they have the match with Indus coming up on the next episode. But like past that, I don't really know what holds for them, other than maybe another match with them down the line. But I could see them maybe joining Gulak's little shooter stable that he might be putting together. But I think I don't really want them to be heels again. So I feel like it's either a call up or maybe just another hot run at the belts. Maybe go after Gallus. They could probably have a pretty good couple of matches with those guys. So who knows? But I thought the match with them and Hank Walker and Gulak was really good. I thought that was the best Hank had ever looked, which probably isn't really saying much. But
Yeah.
He still kind of looked clumsy and goofy, but I thought the parts with Gulak in there was really great, and I thought the Creeds carried him to a pretty good match. So I thought it was solid.
Yeah, my son would like to see the Creeds come up and partner up with the Academy, basically.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool, actually, I think. So we get Wendy Chu versus Elektra Lopez. Valentina for us walks into the aisle. Elektra uses brass knuckles to win. Feroz looks at her like she's going to tell the ref and distract her. We get Fallon, Briggs, and Jensen backstage. Jensen went to Shawn Michaels and got Fallon and Kiana a tag title match at Vengeance Day. And then we go to Elektra and Valentina backstage. Elektra is trying to tell her winning is more important than friends. Then we get a Stevie Turner interview. She appears from her studio. And then we'll pause there. So we got a lot of women stuff going on here. Elektra still is doing this brass knuckles thing, which seems to we have a kind of a resurgence in brass knuckles. They seem to be getting used a lot more these days in WWE at least. And we get it's official now. Fallon and Kiana are getting their title match, and with this they're kind of I guess since Valentina's tag partner is injured, they're going in a direction for her, which obviously I think we all can tell where it's going to go backstage. And I got to tell you, I love Stevie Turner. I think she has been great from the get-go. I didn't see any of her NXT UK, but I'm really liking her. And at first you think she's a face, but she's really kind of an asshole. Really, no other way to say it. She's a heel, but she comes off so like charming, I guess, that you kind of get fooled a little bit by her. But you could definitely see her, and we'll talk about her a little bit more in the next episode. But what do you think of these segments with the women here?
Yeah, it seems like every so often they'll do like an episode where it's really centered around the women. They have a couple tag matches, a couple singles matches, but push a couple of different storylines forward. Obviously, Elektra's going to kind of build a Latin American female stable, kind of a female Legado. It seems like maybe going forward, kind of to replace maybe the Toxic Attraction as the top heel stable on NXT. Obviously, I mean it's a slow burn. I think Valentina eventually joins her. since she's kind of begrudging it so far and doesn't want to help Elektra or take her help with the brass knuckles and everything. So, but yeah, they're obviously trying to push her and get her into a prime position to, be a big player in the division going forward. And then, they get the tag title match. I feel it feels kind of forced. They won one match, so they get the championship match, but it fits the story that they're going with. And then Stevie Turner, I think she's been great so far on those little segments where she's in her studio, talking about all the other talents on the show. So I think she's good. I watched all of it, NXT UK, but I don't really remember a lot about her. So I think she kind of came in at the end. I don't think she was there very long. So I'm not super familiar with her either.
All right. Very good. So I see what you're saying about the heel stable, but I actually think there's going to be a different female heel stable, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But I definitely think I see something brewing, and that's kind of a teaser there. All right, so we get Grayson Waller in the ring, calling out Braun, and they brawl. The locker room empties for the breakup. Braun goes for a spear at ringside and breaks through the barricade wall. Then we get a Gallus package where they are shooting pool, and they complain about no snooker and the beer here in America. Then we get a women's tag title match with Kaden Carter and Katana Chance versus Alba Fire, who had challenged them the previous week. By herself, Sol Ruka comes out to be her partner. Alba gets taken out by hitting the steps outside. Chance pins Ruka for the win. Alba walks and just joins Isla Dawn, who came out. Kiana and Fallon come out, make the Vengeance Day match official. So, we get they build on, they keep moving forward the Grayson Waller and Braun Breaker leading up to Vengeance Day, and now we get this women's tag match where Alba basically does a heel turn in it. So I thought it was a fine match, but I really don't love the coming out on that platform thing that they do sometimes. I don't know. I think it's a little weird, and I'm thinking, obviously we know what happens, but I'm thinking at this point while I was watching it live that Carter and Chance's days were numbered anyway. I didn't know how many numbers they had left. So what are you thinking on this match here?
Yeah, I definitely saw, like, after the match happened and what her walking out with Isla, of course, I thought, obviously, like you said, the tag title reign of Kaden and Katana was numbered for sure. I didn't think they were numbered for the certain match that they were going to have coming up in a couple of weeks, but I thought for sure, this was going to lead to maybe Alba and Isla eventually taking it from them, but we'll see that doesn't quite happen. And then, Grayson Waller continuing to outsmart Braun, kind of jumping out of the way so he can spear through the wall and kind of knock himself out again. So Grayson just continues to get the upper hand on him. So you got to think that just he constantly keeps getting over on him. So you would think that maybe that would lead to him getting over on him in the cage match that they have coming up at Vengeance Day. So we'll see how that worked out for him. But it's continuing to build Grayson as a credible challenger and somebody that could very much definitely beat Braun if they decided to go that direction.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything Braun hasn't speared himself through at this point or into? It seems like he's gone through everything.
Maybe the entranceway, but other than that, yeah, pretty much.
So we get a package on Dijak and Wesley talking about their Vengeance Day match. We get a Cora Jade interview, talks about Lyra Valkyria. And we cut to the parking lot when Nikita Lyons down after being attacked. Obviously to get her off TV because she had to have knee surgery. Then we get Chase U backstage. Duke has to explain himself. He went to Shawn Michaels about getting into the contender match, and then talked to the New Day, and they got into the match. Then we get a women's championship summit that is moderated by Booker T. JC and Gigi appear to be at odds, but was all a ruse, and they end up putting Roxanne through a table to end the show. So I don't know. Apparently, Shawn Michaels can be convinced by anybody to book a match. That's what they're kind of telling us here, right? Because I went to Shawn Michaels. I went to Shawn. Hey, Logan, guess what? I went to Shawn Michaels. We got a tag title match coming up at.
Oh my
it's like,
God.
Jesus Christ, that'd be a hot mess anyway. But so. Yeah, so we get a little building. This Nikita Lyons thing becomes something more than it appears at the moment. And then we get the lead up here to the women's title match here, the triple threat. And what are your thoughts on the closing moments, a few segments of this episode?
Yeah, apparently you can just go to HBK's office and he's like, "You get a title shot, and you get a title shot." He's the Oprah of NXT, I guess. But yeah, like you said, the Nikita thing will be a bigger storyline going forward. We still don't know who did it, but they'll do some investigative reporting on the future episodes on that. So that'll be a big thing going forward. It'll end up being somebody, and I guess it'll be a heel turn for somebody we least expect. So I thought the championship summit was really good. The Toxic Girls made you believe that they were at odds and they really didn't like each other, and that they had you believing that they were going to be separated in this match. They weren't going to team up together, but then they pull the ruse on you and get over on Roxanne there at the end and throw her through the table. So I thought it was really well done. It gets you excited to see if Roxanne can overtake the odds of both girls going after her together as a team. So definitely a really good segment to end this episode.
All right, very good. So then we move on the episode on January 31st. It opens with the Creeds versus Indus the match that seemed like it took forever to happen. And we get it's a really good match, lots of power spots from both sides. Brutus makes a fun hot tag. He's actually growing on me. I was kind of down on Brutus for a while because I thought he showed no personality, and he was just like this. I don't know, but the whole Brutus bomb and all that stuff, that's really gotten me over. We get Julius holding. Julius shows some power in this where he holds Veer in a gut wrench powerbomb for what seemed like an eternity to get him over to the right, to drop him. Then we get Jinder interfering. Ivy slaps him on the apron and gets knocked to the floor. It leads to Indus winning with Sangha chokeslamming Julius. I thought this was a really good match. A lot of good stories in there. Like I said, Julius looked like a beast, but the right team went over here. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was a good Haas Fest. I figured this one would be on the PLE, but I'm kind of glad they got their own little spot here to open the show, because that's kind of the hot opener. I like we talked about in the past to kind of open these episodes. So I'm glad they kind of got this spot instead of being kind of buried on the the pay-per-view premium live event card. So, but yeah, I thought it was a Haas Fest. Like you said, Julius is an absolute badass. He does like a triple pump because he can't quite get him up every time, but he has to do it like 3 times and then finally gets him and power bombs him. So just unreal strength. Like you said, to get kind of the new team over, obviously they needed to win here, and going over the Creeds is a big deal. So really good Haas Fest, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. So then we get Axiom and Tyler Bate backstage. They're watching a Tyler Bate versus A-Kid match, and they kind of, I guess, do a little thing where wonder who that guy is, and basically everybody pretty much knows who A-Kid is. And they make a match, a gentleman's, I guess, kind of match for later on in the show. We get Damon Kemp interfering, interrupting, actually. He talks down the Brits. Then we get Zoe Stark versus Indy Hartwell. Earlier today, they had jawed backstage. Saul puts her 2 cents in about Indy beating Zoe, beating Zoe before. And we get Indy wrestling chants during this match. Zoe wins with her finisher. Then we get Zoe attacking post-match, and Saul makes the save. So I like that we get Tyler Bate back into the mix here. I'm not a Damon Kemp guy at all. I just think the guy.
No, he's a nerd.
Yeah, he was. Was he in NXT UK? Because that's what I'm.
He popped over for like a guest appearance.
Like a hot second.
Towards the end, like this. Yeah, they did like this, like where random NXT 2.0 people would pop over and have a match. That's kind of where Brooks and Jensen won the tag, or Briggs and Jensen won the tag titles. They would just like pop over every now and then.
Yeah. And okay, and then we get the whole Indy, Saul, and Zoe stuff. Zoe much better as a heel. Like her moveset seems to be better. She is as you know, as a face, she was just so goddamn vanilla. But now, you know, she is better. I'm not saying she's one of my favorites, but I do like her moveset is more heelish. So, what were you thinking here with this one?
No, yeah, she's definitely got more ruthless in ring with some of her strikes and stuff like that. She's still not the most exciting wrestler in the world, I'll say, but she's a good wrestler at the same time. She's very good in ring, but she's never going to do much to excite you. But she's real physical and does a lot of good submissions and stuff like that. So, this was a solid match, just to kind of continue to put her heel character over. So, yeah, like I said, solid match, but nothing will blow your socks off at the same time.
Yeah, like she's a good hand, basically. Is that what she's somebody that you could put in with a lot of people, and they'll have a good match. Mm-hmm. All right, so then we get a Schism promo.
May never be great, but it's always good.
Yeah, may not be great, but always good. Yeah, we get a Schism promo about the tag titles. Ava speaks the truth about Chase U. Then we get an Apollo Crews package from Charlotte. We get Wes Lee doing a promo, getting interrupted by Dijak. We get Von Wagner and Robert Stone interrupting. They jaw about who is the biggest and baddest in NXT. Wes sits there, instigates to get a match between them, and it leads to Dijak versus Von Wagner with a fun hoss fight. And Dijak, the right guy, wins the match. And then we get Tony D and Stax backstage. I can't even read my own handwriting about the month. Okay, so Von Wagner, what are we doing here? You know, I like I said, it was a decent match, but you know, Dijak was the right one to go over here, and where I wonder where they're leading with Von Wagner.
They're obviously going for something because we'll talk about it going forward. But him and Mr. Stone obviously are having some kind of problems. They're not communicating well. They're not getting along per se. But I really like Wes before this match kind of being a shit stir and being like, "Oh no, you did say you were the biggest guy in NXT," and like makes Dijak kind of have to face Vaughn here. But I thought it was a better match than if you saw Von Wagner versus Dijak on the card. I might not have been too excited about it, but I thought they had a pretty good physical hoss fest. So. Two big guy matches to start out this show, so that's a solid way to do any show. But I don't know where we're going with Vaughn. I'm not particularly excited to see it, but whatever it is. But I guess
I have some ideas, but we could talk about that later because it involves the main roster, unfortunately.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's just my brain. The little mouse is running on the wheel. The hamster's running on the wheel up there. So it has to do with something that happened during somebody's entrance on the main roster that is making me think things like conspiracy theory, I guess. So then we get a closer look at the attack on Nikita Lyons from the previous week. They analyze the footage, a la CSI NXT, as I like to call it. They do basically everybody in a women's roster on NXT was out there in some capacity, and they
absurd.
They highlight where they are and what they're doing at the time. It really was. It was kind of a fun segment, but it's still absurd at the same time. We get a closer look at Braun versus Grayson Waller leading to Vengeance Day. Then we get the Tyler Bate versus Axiom match, which was a lot of fun. Tyler Bates wins with the Tyler Driver 97. Then we get Damon Kemp attacking post-match with his attack focusing on Axiom. So this whole Nikita thing, you think it's going to be somebody who's currently a face and we're going to get a big heel turn here? Because Nikita's out for, maybe SummerSlam weekend for NXT, whatever, their pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with this and how long they're going to drag it out for.
I mean, I feel like it has to be somebody that's not currently a bad guy that just took her out to, like, take away the numbers in the division or something like that, just to open a spot for somebody that's kind of lower tier. Maybe just somebody new, maybe somebody like Stevie Turner. She's already a heel, but like maybe just to kind of get people out of her path and something to that effect. I feel like it has to be somebody that's not already heel or not already established. I feel like it's got to be something like that. I don't know that getting over on Nikita does too much for anybody, as we've talked about recently. She hasn't been the best featured person in the women's division. So, but the Bate and Axiom match, I thought it was really good. Tyler Bate's one of those that can never have a bad match. And Axiom's starting to kind of be that way. I feel like he's really improved and really shot up in my eyes. I still think he's probably only going to get so high, but I think he's really good in ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think the Nikita thing is like they have this situation. They're going to lose her for so long. Might as well do something with it, right? I think probably that's what they're going for there. Then we get Isla Dawn initiates Alba Fire into her house. So this is what I'm thinking, and I can say who I think could be the next person when we get there. They could be building up, like, I don't want to say a supernatural, but like a coven kind of thing, where Isla is like the leader of it, and now she obviously, because she's using magic and spells and crap like that, and she got Alba turned, and I think that could be maybe they could be building that. I see what you're saying with the whole Latin America thing, but after Faraz, who's next that could make it a stable and not like just a tag team or a frenemies, obviously, when her partner comes back, which I have no idea when she's scheduled to come back, or they think she's going to come back. But we get that, and then we get a Carmelo and Trick interview. Then we get a split screen interview between Roxanne and Toxic Attraction, as with Roxanne going over and attacking both JC and Gigi. And we get Danny Palmer versus Stevie Turner making her in-ring debut. Stevie is one thing I noticed in her match, she's a hard hitter. I mean, she really hitting those chops and those hits. Danny Palmer gets a little bit of offense in, and Stevie wins with a rather impressive moveset. So what are your thoughts on what I said about Isla Dawn and where the possibilities there and the continued build to the triple threat match, as well as Stevie's in-ring debut?
Yeah, I could totally see the Isla Dawn Alba Fire group that you kind of pitched there. I could definitely see them kind of initiating or possessing, or I don't know, just using magic to kind of bring some more people in to kind of control them. So I could see that for sure. They obviously are going to do some kind of a tag team with them already, so I could see more people ended up joining. And I thought the interview was great. I loved that JC and Gigi kept cutting off Roxanne, and then Roxanne kind of showed some fire and some aggressiveness and ran to wherever they were interviewing from and beat the crap out of them and kind of destroyed the set. So I thought that was a pretty good way to do that whole sit-down interview. And then Stevie looked very impressive in her first match on NXT. Like you said, she had a lot of hard strikes, and I thought her finisher, she did like the side effect that Matt Hardy used to do, so I thought that was a really cool finisher when he did it. So I think it's cool that she does it now. But yeah, she looked very impressive.
And she's taller than I thought she would be too. Like you would think she's like because there's quite a bit of I guess shorter girls on the shorter side lately coming out. But yeah, she is a lot taller than you think. So I think her size is going to.
She's lanky.
Yeah, she's lanky. She's wiredy. So then we get Kiana backstage on the phone, tells somebody named Zach that she loves him. Fallon confronts her and looking out for Brooks. Then we get Carter and Chance interrupting, and we get which is you know how much I love their acting. We get Charlie Dempsey versus Drew Gulak with a nice catch-as-catch-can match. Drew sends Charlie into Hawk and leads for the win. Into Hank, sorry, for the win. Then we get Von Wagner backstage. Robert Stone calls him out to show him who he is. So So we get, this whole love thing going on, with Fallon trying to look out for Brooks, and we get this Charlie Dempsey versus Drew Gulak thing. These are, been okay matches. Dempsey, I'm not quite sure what direction they're going in with him, and again, we're continuing with the Von Wagner stuff. So anything to add about that?
Yeah, they're obviously still trying to push the fighting between Kiana and Fallon. Obviously, she overheard her on the phone, so she's gonna accuse her of stepping out on Brooks. So, but that'll be a continuing thing going forward. And yeah, Caden and Katana's acting experience and level is pretty poor in these backstage segments for sure. But Gulak and Dempsey, I thought it was a good little technical match. Again, not going to blow your socks off, but well worked, I'll say, is the best way to describe it. But I think it has a place on the card for sure, but I don't really know where they're going with that whole thing. But we'll see as we go forward, of course. And then I loved Mr. Stone doing the "Help me, help you," stealing from that Tom Cruise movie. So, yeah, I don't really know where that one's going forward, but I'm excited to hear what your idea is for sure.
Yeah, with Jerry Maguire there. So what I'm thinking is somebody had posted, I guess, they noticed that on Chelsea Green's entrance video, it had the Robert Stone logo in the corner of it. So what I'm thinking is they may come up and because they were together, right? Robert Stone and Chelsea, he was managing her for a little while before she got brought up and then released and hurt in whatever order that was in. What I'm thinking is Robert Stone and Vaughn could come up, and Vaughn could kind of be like her bodyguard, her muscle at some point. I don't know where that goes in with the Karen character that she's doing right now, but that's what I'm thinking. I think Vaughn, could come up, but not exactly be wrestling that much off the bat. How long did Kevin Nash come in as Diesel before he really wrestled, right? So I mean, Vaughn is where was Nash at that point? He was Oz, he was Vinny Vegas. He wasn't really setting the world on fire going into there. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to compare him and Vaughn, but that wouldn't be the worst thing in my opinion. What do you think of that harebrained idea of mine?
It could work. If he's a bodyguard, I don't really know who he attacks though, because I don't really see them having him attack a lady. But maybe if he roughs up Adam Pearce for her, maybe I could see that for sure. Because she seems to be very pissed at him on a weekly basis. So it could work. Him being kind of an opposing figure to have behind her and have as her kind of enforcer would be a pretty cool idea. But I don't know if he has the chops to pull it off, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He just has to stand there and look menacing, I guess.
I guess that's true. I mean, he does look like an Easter Island head, so, I mean, that could be intimidating for sure.
He does. All right, so then we get a triple threat tag match between the Dyad, Blade and Inoue, and Chase U. We got lots of good action from all three. Inoue and Blade look good physically, but are lacking any kind of ring psychology. Andre does the Chase U stomp on Reed, and then we get Chase U winning, where they hit the front liner. I have trouble hearing my front. Yeah, front liner on Jagger Reed. Then we get a post match with Gallus and Pretty Deadly coming out. New Day appears on the Tron, and we get a Vengeance Day package. So I honestly thought going in the Dyad was going to win this match. I wasn't thinking Chase U, but I really enjoyed it, and Chase U earned their way into the tag title match at Vengeance Day. What would you think about this main event here?
Yeah, I definitely thought the Dyad would win here. It seemed like they had kind of been building Schism lately, so I thought this would have been a good spot for Reed and Fowler for sure. But I was hyped to see Chase U win. Like I always say, the NXT crowd is super behind them. And I didn't realize that Andre Chase's hometown was Charlotte. So if I had probably known that beforehand, probably would have gone with them in this match. I definitely would have thought they would have won just to have the little hometown possibility in there. So But I thought it was a really good match. I thought really all three teams worked pretty good. Idris and Malik were better in this match. I still won't say they were great, but the Dyad and Chase U definitely brought it. And I really love the Fratliner finisher that they do. I think that's a really good tag team move. So really awesome three-way, and I'm glad Chase U ended up getting the victory and getting into the fatal four-way match at the PLE.
Yeah, and speaking of the PLE, on Saturday night, February 4th, we had Vengeance Day hailing from Charlotte. So just a side note, our friends on the North-South Connection did a live watch on YouTube. And Logan, you were one of the panelists, and I was watching along that night. And I got to say, you did a great job on that. So
thank you.
For those of you out there, go check it out on the NoSo YouTube channel. It is available. So, Tim, Jenny, Tim Taylor, by the way, not Tim Cable. When you hear Tim and Jenny, you usually think of Cable, but no, it was Tim Taylor and Jenny and Logan and JT, right? Was it just the four of you? Was there somebody else that popped on?
No, it was just four of us.
All right, four of us. Yeah, you guys did a great job. So I would highly suggest you going to watch that if you want to watch live reactions as you watch the PLE. Well, let's just give our thoughts, though, in review form here. So we get an opening with Charlotte Flair hyping up the matches. We open with the North American title match, Wesley versus Dijak. I really, really enjoyed this match. It was a great big man, little man match. Arguably, match of the night, they set the bar really high off the top of it. Tony D and Stax interfered, which Logan, you did call. You go back and listen to our last episode. Dijak ends up doing a moonsault onto the two of them, which leads to him kind of getting into the ring a little out of sorts, and Wes wins with his backspring kick. Logan, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this match. And where were your thoughts on this? Because obviously the first match in the first show in a big arena for NXT in the last 2 years or 2+ years. I mean, this was a great way to start. I mean, it kind of announced them like, we're back, we're here. This is the NXT that you know, that you love. That at for all intents and purposes, it's a takeover. And takeovers always deliver, I gotta say. And this one was no doubt. What were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I definitely thought they started out hot. This is a perfect matchup. Little guy, big guy. I think Dijak works really good with a smaller opponent. He can do that high flying stuff when he needs to, but he can also be a hoss and a power wrestler. Wesley's really good at fighting from underneath, especially in this match with Dijak. I thought they just had a ton of chemistry. The crowd was super hyped, super pumped, super into this match throughout the whole thing. They had a few botches throughout, but I think it kind of played into the physicalness and kind of the worn outness that they had throughout the match. So it kind of added to it in a way. But yeah, just a lot of great moves. There was a really brutal Frankensteiner from the top rope that Wesley hit at one point on Dijak. I thought that was sick. But just a lot of really cool moves. I envisioned that Tony D would get involved somehow. I wasn't sure if he would cause Wesley to lose or Dijak to win, or either way. I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I figured he would get involved somewhat, because I just see this ending somewhere in a triple threat between the three of them, or maybe another guy gets added somewhere along the line. But I thought this was a really great way to start this and got the crowd super hyped. So really solid and awesome opener.
Well, I mean, haven't they traditionally been at the North American title in a ladder match? They did it last year. They had Carmelo defended it against 5 or 6 guys, and Cameron Grimes ended up winning. But I would really like to see these 3 guys just kind of have a match to themselves. Mm-hmm. I'd be okay with a ladder match, but I'd like to see this rivalry kind of play out. For their sakes. Yeah, I think Dijak's the one that's going to take it. I think they got to give him a run with a title. I think he's earned it. I mean, his first run in NXT was so good, and then he had to deal with that shit in Retribution. So let's give the guy some shine here. All right, so we move on to the women's tag titles. We got Kaden Carter and Katana Chance defending against Kiana James and Fallon Henley with a fun match, lots of quick action. Again, James is wrestling as a heel while Henley is wrestling as a face. Then Chance hits a super hurricanrana on Henley. Then Henley ends up pinning Carter while James holds her legs, unbeknownst to Fallon Henley, and they celebrate by being lifted onto the shoulders of Briggs and Jensen. This was somewhat of a surprise to some. I mean, I knew if you had asked me like a week or two before this, I did not think that this would be the team that would take the tag belts off them. But they really don't have women's teams that are that established. So I think they had to do something, right? Because Carter and Chance, their run, unbelievably, they were the longest reigning women's tag champions, and that includes the WWE women's tag titles. Nobody's held it as long as those two. Again, if you had asked me that, who that was going to be, that would not have been my answer. So what did you think about this match?
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match. Like I said in the previous episode that we talked about, I think Kiana and Fallon have a good chemistry, and they play the partially heel, partially face kind of thing really well. I would say, I definitely didn't see them winning. Going in, I kind of get it for the storyline purposes as we'll go forward, obviously. But I feel like it's kind of a letdown for Carter and Chance. I feel like they should have lost to with that being such a big record reign for them. I feel like they should have lost to a team that was a little bit more, established and maybe just bigger stars. Maybe like we were talking about in the previous episode as well. Maybe like an Isla and an Alba. Like Alba's been around a while, and Isla's obviously somebody that they see and think of highly. So definitely a surprise, but not a bad match for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we get a Lyra Valkyria package where she issues an open challenge. Then we get the Apollo Crews versus Carmella Hayes, best 2 out of 3 falls. Great action and athleticism from both men. Mello ends up winning 2-0, and we get Daba Kato, formerly known as Commander Z, shows up to prevent Trick Williams from interfering. Then post-match, Kato attacks Crews with a 2-handed chokeslam on a chair. So obviously you knew this was going to be a great match with these two guys going in. Were you surprised about the 2-0 result?
In a way, a little bit. I was. I just figured they'd give Cruz a bone and give him a fall on a roll up or something like that. But I support it for sure. Hayes is as we'll see at the end of this show, he's headed for bigger and better things for sure. This match was really good, and I really enjoyed it, but I feel like it could have clicked into another gear a little bit. I feel like it never quite got to that really great I think they did a really good job. I think it was a good match, well worked, but I think there was another gear that they could have gotten to. And seeing Daba Kato come back, another big guy. So I feel like we're starting to stack up the roster with a lot of big guys. So we'll see where he goes forward. I don't really think he's been too impressive in his previous runs. So we'll see how it works out this time.
Yeah, he's part of that whole class of big guys that you're kind of like, what is this? Is this just because Vince loves big guys here? Because it was like him, Omos, Shanky. I mean, maybe you could put Von Wagner into that. Yeah, it's just these ginormous guys who are just, kind of like just they. I mean, they're. Yeah, I don't know where they're going with that, and I perish at the thought of some where they could go with some of these.
He was trying to help him. It seemed like he was trying to help him at first, and then it was like he suddenly didn't like him anymore. And then he suddenly just lost. Like, I feel like he came out to help him, and then it kind of distracted him at the same time and opened the door for Mello to win. So it was very confusing kind of at the end what the kind of thing was with them in the first place. So, but obviously he turned on him, so it made sense.
Yep. So then we move on to the Fatal 4-Way for the men's tag titles. We got Pretty Deadly, Chase U, and Gallus versus the New Day. All the teams worked really hard in this. We get Gallus putting Duke Hudson through the announcer table on the outside, and Gallus wins by pinning Xavier Woods. So going in, I had a feeling you thought the New Day were were going to win, and because they were going to be around till Mania. I was kind of a little more skeptical of that. I thought they needed to make a statement on this show, and New Day winning, although I was a little surprised New Day ate the pin in this match. But I think the right team wins in this one. Where were you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I was definitely thinking New Day would take this one and kind of lose in a one-on-one match to who eventually won the tag titles in this match. Thought they would have a one-on-one match with, or two-on-two, whatever you want to say, with Gallus. But Gallus takes it here. I was very surprised when that happened. But I thought it was I thought it was another really good match. I feel like this one again could have gone into another gear at some point, but I do think it was very well worked by all the teams. But yeah, I'm very surprised that the New Day lost the titles, but I'm even more surprised that they took the pin, like you said, because I definitely would have seen. I definitely would have seen the New Day being in the Mania match, but since they've been beaten by the tag champs, I feel like who wants to see that now? They've already beat them, so who cares?
Yeah. The New Day are kind of bulletproof anyway. It doesn't hurt them at all, especially losing in NXT. I think they're one of those teams, and this adds to their legacy, I guess, right? You know, they came down there, they kind of pumped it up. They did what they were supposed to do, basically. The mission accomplished. They got the tag team division, hot and going. And Gallus, thankfully all those visa issues got settled, it seems like, with Gallus and Tyler Bate and a few other people. So we get that. Mm-hmm. So we get the next is the triple threat match for the women's title. Roxanne Perez defending against both Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. We get Toxic Attraction coming out together, and they seem to be on the same page for a lot of the match, but then that devolves. Roxanne puts Gigi through a table on the outside and then ends up hitting JC with super pop rocks for the win. I really enjoyed this match. I thought maybe the working together went on a little too long between JC and Gigi, but obviously it's leading to something else that's coming up after this show. But I really I thought the match was good. I mean, it's a tough story to tell, They have to balance it, and I thought they did. And it continues with Roxanne with her kind of her underdog champion thing that she's been going with here. So, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think they worked the 2-on-1 aspect of this really well. I feel like Roxanne did really well underneath going against the two girls. I think they worked the kind of handicap triple threat match pretty well, and that's that aspect. But obviously, it wasn't going to work. Eventually, one of them is going to be like, "Nah, I want to be the champion," and then they're going to obviously go at each other's throats throughout the match. But I thought it was well worked for sure. I thought the super pop rocks was awesome. I thought that was an awesome way to finish it, and she had kind of just pushed Gigi onto the table, so I thought the finish was really hot. And I just thought they really worked the 2-on-1 aspect throughout the beginning of the match really well. So enjoyed this one a lot.
All right. So then we got our main event, which is the NXT title match: Grayson Waller versus Braun Breaker in a steel cage. We get Grayson Waller getting a big entrance here. And we got a well-paced match. Braun hitting power moves. Grayson playing the quick sort of chicken shit heel at times. Braun hits a superplex and then a spear and hesitates to get the win because he wants to punish Waller some more. Then hits a devastating spear for the win. Post-match, Carmelo Hayes comes out and appears he will be the next challenger for Braun. I thought there was going to be kind of a screwy finish here with Grayson winning by Braun spearing him through the cage and him hitting the floor. So I don't know. I was a little surprised, but Waller again, another guy that doesn't need a title, I guess, to be over. I don't think Braun does at this point, but once Braun loses, I think his days are numbered down there anyway. What did you think this match delivered?
So doing the live watch on this show, I didn't get to hear a lot of the commentary or any of the backstage stuff. So apparently throughout this show, they said that the cage match had to be won by pinfall or submission. So if you had told me that before the main event had happened, I would have definitely picked Braun to win, because I don't think that if Grayson won, it was going to be by chicanery, kind of like you said. So once they announced that, I was like, well, Braun's taking it. I mean, and I didn't know that till after the show, because I rewatched it obviously later, and they kind of said it on the episodes after this, but the match had to be won by pinfall or submission, so that would have kind of given the winner away for me. But I thought it was another really good match. I feel like the last few Braun matches haven't been up to the level that I think he can get to. And I feel like this one kind of fell into that. This one was way better than the Apollo match, but still kind of lacked something throughout it. But obviously, Braun's continuing his reign. He's obviously going for Carmelo, or Carmelo's coming for him next. And I'm really looking forward to that one. I don't really know where Waller goes going forward now, because I feel like he's kind of main roster ready, but I also feel like he could still kind of stay down and be an ace of that kind of mid-card, upper-tier division for the NXT brand. But I'm interested to see where he goes going forward. And it seems, as crazy and stupid as it may be, as we'll get into the next few episodes, it seems like he might be going for a certain booker of the NXT brand.
Yeah, that's kind of a head scratcher at the moment for me too. Yeah, overall, no, I thought it was a really good card. Match of the night, North American title match.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I thought it was a super hot way to open, and just I don't think anything quite eclipsed it.
Yeah, and there was nothing like bad on the show, really. You know, everything was good to very good to even great. So I thought it was a solid showing by the NXT brand. Really, go ahead.
Very, very good first impression back on the road, for sure. I thought it was a really well done card.
Yeah, and they're only going to get better too, which is really cool. All right, so then we get to the following episode, which is aired on February 7th. It opens with a Vengeance Day recap, of course. And we get Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams out talking about his clean sweep over Apollo Crews, and we get JD McDonough interrupting, and Hayes challenges him to a match. We go backstage, and Fallon and Kiana argue about the way they won the titles. Fallon tells Kiana that she has to tell Brooks about who she was talking to on the phone. They walk into the locker room, and Brooks and Briggs and Jensen have thrown them a surprise party for their title win. And we get our first match of the night with Zoe Stark versus Sol Ruca. Zoe wrestles, like I said, better as a heel earlier. Ruca is improving every week, but gets kind of brought back down to earth in this match. Zoe wins with a modified GTS. In the post-match, Zoe goes to beat her down, but she ends up hitting the Soul Snatcher, which I think everybody is now really just looking for with Sol. I don't want her to be defined by that, but she definitely needed to get, I don't know, some people call it like a come to Jesus moment, like knock her down a bit, because you're like, all right, you're good. You ain't there yet, sweetheart. Let's get our expectations here. So what are your thoughts on the opening of the show with Carmelo and JD setting something up? We get the saga of Briggs and Kiana's romance with Henley and Briggs in there. Brooks' romance. And then we get the Zoe versus Sol match.
I was super pumped to see that Carmelo and JD were going to work together. Big fan of both of those guys, so that's something that got me excited for sure. The continued saga, like you said, of Henley not trusting James or Kiana, and calling her out for the whole phone thing. I kind of think Kiana could have made it a little easier and just said who the person was on the other side of the phone before what we see on the next episode. And it would have been a lot easier to squash. But it was nice for Brooks and Josh to kind of give them a party to celebrate their win. And then, like you said, I think it's good that Sol kind of got I'd not put in her place, but knocked down a peg. Like, yeah, you're good, and your move is really cool, and she shows good athleticism in all these matches. But this is a good spot for Zoe. Kind of like I said, she's never going to have all-time classic match, but she's always going to bring maybe some of these younger rookie girls up to her level and get a good match out of them. So perfect spot for Zoe to kind of, put Soul back down a couple pegs.
All right. So then we get Pretty Deadly at the party, and they kind of look like crap. And Chase U challenges them to a match, because they're dejected after everything that happened. So then Daba Kato versus Dante Chen, with basically Kato squashing him. They asked him why he attacked Apollo, and he said he knows why. Oh, kind of get that. And then we get, we get backstage with Carter and Chance interrupting Roxanne's interview. They are upset and acting very heelish. They say Roxanne has no friends, and she says that she'll make a call and we'll see them next week. We get Isla Dawn with Alba Fire versus Tatum Paxley, who comes out by herself. It's fairly one-sided, with Tatum getting a little bit of offense in there, but Isla wins with her version of the final cut. And Isla and Alba go to attack Tatum post-match, and Ivy makes a save. So, we get Daba Kato basically returning, and poor Dante Chen getting his ass kicked. And, Carter and Chance teasing a heel turn here. And we get this Isla Dawn and Tatum Paxley. Now, I think that the whole little coven thing I was talking about, Tatum Paxley could be the first person they recruit after Alba. So what do you think of what these few segments here?
Yeah, it obviously seems like they're focusing on Ivy and Tatum, so I could see them definitely, or one of them definitely getting pulled into that little coven deal that you have cooked up. Daba Kato looked like a big hoss guy that's going to throw around a little guy. So I thought Dante got a few more moves in than I would have thought. So I was kind of surprised by that. I don't know that NXT on the squashes, like that they have squashes, but I feel like none of them are like absolute squashes where nobody gets a move in. I feel like at least a person gets at least a few moves in, or a series in. So nobody absolutely squashes anybody in this one. But Katana and Caden kind of going somewhat heel, and this segment was kind of weird. I get them being pissed about how they lost the titles and lost their record reign, but getting pissed at Roxanne was not the direction I thought that they would go. And then Isla obviously takes care of Tatum pretty easily. Tatum gets a few moves in here and there, but just obviously a way to put her over.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So we get Carmelo Hayes versus JD McDonough. Really good match as expected. When both men are down, we get Ilja Dragunov music hits. The place kind of gets a big pop. He ends up taking out Trick Williams. Hayes then rolls up McDonough for the win. Dragunov then jumps into the ring, and you think he's going to go after Hayes, but goes after JD. Then we have backstage where Thea Hale is arguing with Tiffany Stratton. When Tiffany turns around, Ava Raine kidnaps Thea. And we have Toxic Attraction arriving separately. So this Carmelo JD match was really good. I did enjoy it, and I love seeing Dragunov coming back, and looking forward to him and JD coming up. And then we get some more backstage. I'm not going to say antics is not the right word. We get Thea getting to her and Tiffany. I enjoy their little interaction here. And now looks like we're moving on. Really getting into the Schism versus Chase U feud here. So, anything to add on these?
Yeah, like you said, Carmelo and JD obviously blew it out of the water, hit a home run as expected. I thought they had a really good match, and yeah, it's good to see Dragunov come back, kind of get some revenge on McDonough for taking him out. So it's good to see him back, and I'm interested to see that match going forward. And then the little segment between Thea and Tiffany was really good. It should let Thea show a little bit more of that little pit bull kind of Tasmanian devil personality that she has, and she's kind of schizophrenic. She goes from being like super happy and cheery to kind of pissed off just seconds later. So, but yeah, it's obviously building towards some kind of Schism Chase U feud as she kind of got kidnapped. So interested to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like Dragunov, but I have a feeling that if he comes up, maybe he joins Imperium, right? Because Walter Gunter is so over, and I think they could be getting to the point where they may be more over than they were in NXT up there, and and they have had 4 members of Imperium before.
That's true. They were huge rivals in NXT UK, so it could be cool to see them kind of be partners at some point. So that would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and we at least see the eventual split, and then we will get, them, fighting each other again. So I think in terms of long-term booking, I think that could be a good move for them. So then we go back to the party. We get Brooks says he has a Valentine's date with Kiana and that she's the love of his life. Then we go back to the ring for Lyra Valkyria's open challenge. Valentina Feroz comes out, accompanied by Wendy Chu. Elektra then comes out mid-match, tosses Valentina the brass knuckles. She refuses to use them and walks right into a spin kick, and Valkyria wins. Backstage, Tony D and Stax talk about Wes, that they should be paid for. Talk to Wes, telling him that he's paying him for helping him out at Vengeance Day. He tells him he's having an open challenge for the North American title next week. So, we get continuing on with the saga of Brooks and Kiana. We get a little decent match here with Lyra Valkyria and Valentina Feroz forwarding her thing with Elektra, and moving forward the Tony D and Wes getting the whole talking about Vengeance Day. So the fallout is leading on. So anything to add on these segments?
Yeah, the Valentina Feroz Lyra Valkyria match was definitely totally just to press the Elektra Lopez thing going forward, trying to get Feroz to go more heelish and cheat. I'm glad Valkyria took our advice and didn't use the stupid splash as her finisher anymore. She used some kicks, and I thought that was a much better way to polish off an opponent. Brooks having the best night of his life next week is going to be exciting to see how much of a disaster that ends up being. Wes continuing to be a great champion and kind of put that open challenge out there was a good move for sure.
And we get Tyler Bate package where he's challenging Grayson Waller. Then we get Odyssey Jones versus Stax with Tony D on his side. Stax gets the win after a DDT, a punch, and a stomp series of moves, where Odyssey Jones was kind of in this match. We get an Indus package, and Roxanne announces that Meiko Satomura will be her partner next week. And then we get Chase U versus Pretty Deadly. Chase U dominates as Pretty Deadly is somewhat out of it. Thea Hale runs out to ringside after escaping from appears to be the Schism kidnapping her. And Duke checks on her on the floor, which leads to Pretty Deadly hitting spilled milk on Andre for the win. So, yeah, this Odyssey Jones Stax match was kind of rough, but I mean, it did make Stax look good in it. So I do appreciate that. The Indus Shear thing is moving forward. Roxanne announcing that we get Satomura is pretty big, and it's going to lead to something that should be a lot of fun over the next little while. And this Chase U Pretty Deadly match was pretty good. Pretty Deadly has some character stuff, and really they're really great at this. They're a team that I see a really bright future for on the main roster, and continuing on again the Schism and Chase U thing. So any thoughts here?
I thought it was a big win for Stax. Odyssey's not a huge name, but I feel like as big of a guy as he is, and they were pretty behind him before he got hurt at when he first debuted. So I think that's a big win for Stax, all things considered. And I thought the Pretty Deadly Chase U match was really good as well. Obviously, it was just a way to get Thea back out there, and she's obviously terrified. She had all the happy face buttons all over her. She was scared to death of whatever Schism just did to her. So I'm definitely interested to see if they kind of go back to that and show us what they might have tried to possess her or something like that. So definitely weird stuff, but definitely interesting. And I hate to see Chase U keep to lose, but I think it was a good way to get Pretty Deadly a win, and by some chicanery at least. But they definitely need to start getting some more wins, because they obviously seem to be the team that's going to go after Gallus, at least at first. So good to see Pretty Deadly get a win, but I would like to see Chase U start getting a few wins themselves.
Yeah, and then we get Bailey appearing here at NXT with a Ding Dong Hello segment with Toxic Attraction. They play up their unity, but ends up JC turns on Gigi, hits her with a super kick, then throws her into the door, and then hits her again with another kick to the head, basically recreating the rocker split move for move. I was I'm not saying I was a little surprised that JC was the one that did the turn, but they definitely were playing Gigi more into the face. Now, I'm not familiar with either of them. I don't know how much JC did pre-NXT. I know Gigi as Priscilla Kelly, right, on the Indies, had a pretty decent, indie career before she signed here. So I'm not sure about how she works as a face, because I think she's pretty much been a heel the whole time she's been in. But I thought they pulled the segment off really well. I just really hope that your beloved Gigi does not become Marty Jannetty. How did you feel on this?
I had to hold my poor sweet Gigi in my arms and nurse her back to health. She was broken a little bit, and she was hurt, so I had to do my best to get my poor sweet Gigi back to good health. No, this was an awesome segment. I think they did a lot of good stuff here. Obviously, the callback to the barbershop and the whole Rockers thing. At one point, JC says Gigi looks like a hobo banged a Chucky doll. I thought that was a really good line. So I thought that was pretty good. But they kind of are catty at first. They're going back and forth with insults, and then they kind of make up and hug and all that. So you kind of think that they're okay and they're going to go forward. But JC hits that big super kick. And then she throws her into the door, and that door had no give.
I know.
I mean, she just went boom, and it seemed like it didn't move at all. And then she freaking kicks her head off with that big boot that she had on. So I just felt so bad for her, because it was a stiff kick. So interested to see where these girls go. I thought it was pretty obvious that if they did break up, JC was going to be the heel. Like you said, I'm not super familiar with either of their indie runs, but I know Gigi's a little bit more experienced than maybe JC was, or has more years at least in the business. But like you said, I'm not sure she's done too much face work, so we'll see how that goes. I think she'll pull it off pretty well. At least if not only for just this storyline. But yeah, JC seems to be a pretty good heel. So I'm interested to see where she goes.
Yeah, a lot of great facial expressions on her. You just kind of she makes you want to hate her kind of thing.
She's very evil.
Yeah, like Gigi, I think people like Gigi. I think they just generally just like her as a character a little bit more, in terms of would cheer for her. JC is just kind of like a bitch. Gigi, you could definitely see she's crazy and kooky, but she was definitely a bit more the I guess the fans probably were a little more invested in her, so to speak, I guess. Okay,
they made the right move.
Yeah, they did. So we move on to the final episode we're going to cover tonight from February 14th. We get opening with an in memoriam card for Jerry Jarrett, who just passed away. We get Grayson Waller versus Tyler Bate. Waller plays up all the HBK stuff. Lots of let's go Waller and Waller sucks chants. Really good chemistry between the two. Waller goes for a dirty pin. The ref catches him, and Tyler rolls him up for the win. What do you think of this opener? I thought it was pretty solid. And we get, Waller is so over with the crowd in NXT, and this whole HBK thing is brewing, and it's going to keep brewing as this episode continues on. So obviously Tyler Bate is pretty awesome, and no matter what he does is great. But what do you think of this opening match here?
Yeah, I think if these guys were given a takeover match and given about 20 minutes, they could have a all-timer for sure. But yeah, they get 11 minutes here. I thought it was a really solid TV match for sure. I liked that Waller would have had the win if the ref hadn't caught him holding the ropes, and Tyler kind of sneaks one out that way. So I really like that, and I think the like you said, the crowd is super behind Grayson, so I think they're kind of pissed, as we'll see later, that he didn't take the belt off of Braun. But Braun has a segment later, and we'll kind of talk about it. But yeah, really good opener. Obviously, continues to kind of push the heat between Shawn Michaels and Grayson, so we'll see where that goes.
All right, then we get Briggs and Jensen backstage. Brooks is nervous about his date with Kiana since he's never even kissed a woman. All right, that was information that a little surprising.
90-10. 90-10.
I know, 90-10. Yeah, they basically played, Hitch. It was like somebody must have been watching because they did the whole thing, like if she fumbles her keys, that whole thing. Yeah, it was like literally watching Hitch. We get Fallon coming in, and she just tells them to have fun. We get JC Jane walking in backstage. Then Grayson Waller goes and argues with HPK and the Gorilla. And Shawn orders Matt Bloom, a.k.a. Albert, to escort him out. Apollo Crews vignette with the diary. He says he's no longer focused on the NXT title. He's just focused on revenge on Dabba-Kato. Then we get a JC Jane in-ring interview. Plays up that it's all about her now. She runs down Gigi, even compares her to Mari Jannetty. Says everyone saw her as the one that didn't belong in Toxic Attraction, and now that she's the last one standing. And then we get a clip of Roxanne picking up Meiko Satomura at the airport. So a lot of, continuing the, as I call it, the saga of Brooks and Kiana. We get moving the Grayson Waller HBK stuff forward a little bit. More of that damn diary from Apollo Crews. And JC Jane comes out and explains herself. So lots of character and storyline focus here on these few segments here, and anything to add?
Yeah, I thought the whole 90-10 segment with Briggs and Jensen was hilarious. Like you said, it was just like that scene from Hitch. I thought that's a really good comp for sure. I think that's definitely what they were going for. Somebody producer is a big fan of that movie, I'm guessing, that wrote that segment. And then the whole Waller Michaels thing was a good little segment as well. I love that Shawn looked at the camera and said, "Go to commercial." I thought that was really funny.
He looked at one camera and looked at another camera at the same time. Right?
That's true. Very true. And yeah, like you said, Apollo and that damn diary. But he's obviously going for Dabba-Kato. I hope that doesn't end up being a stand and deliver match. I hope that's kind of one of those NXT before the big event kind of things. I don't want to see that get PLE time. So hope that one gets squashed pretty quickly. And then JC just kind of had a promo to establish herself, establish that she's on her own. She's gonna take over the women's division. She's gonna leave Gigi in the dust. So I thought it was a really solid way to establish herself.
All right. So then we get Thea Hale backstage, a bit shaken up about being abducted by Schism last week. And we get Duke and Andre checking her as she says that she's got to put it behind her. After, and they do offer to get her match put off because, if you just go to Shawn, he does anything you ask him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're Grayson Waller.
Yeah. And we get a Sol Ruka vignette. She talks about failing and how she's been perfecting the Soul Seeker, whatever it's called, Soul Seeker, and wants a rematch with Zoe. Then we get Thea Hale versus Tiffany Stratton. The dyad appear in the crowd wearing masks. Thea is trying to fight Tiffany, but then Joe Gacy appears on a platform above the stage, and Tiffany keeps taking advantage of these distractions. Ava Raine then appears in the front row wearing a mask. She unmasks, and it messes up Thea. She goes back into the ring, and Tiffany takes control and hits the big moonsault for the win. This then sets up both Thea sits up both post match and is rocking back and forth. So this was a really good segment. I mean, building up this Schism and Thea, basically this young girl getting really, mind effed by these people. And Tiffany looked great and gets another big win with the impressive moonsault that she's been hitting. Anything to add here?
Yeah, I thought the continuation of the Hale versus Schism, obviously they really messed her up when they abducted her the previous week. Kind of feel bad for Tiffany, kind of being a background character in all this, but she did look impressive in the ring, and she obviously won. So that's a big deal as she continues to stack up win after win. So. But yeah, the whole thing in this was definitely to push that Chase U Schism thing going forward. So definitely interested to see where that goes.
All right. Then our favorite person returns. We haven't seen him in a bit.
Big Body Javi.
Big Body Javi. Javier Bernal approaches Tatum and Ivy backstage, asks Tatum to be his Javi time. And she says that she's taken. He then asks Ivy, and she says yes, but then puts him in her dragon sleeper. And we get Isla Dawn's voice comes from a nearby object and tries to stir up things between Ivy and Tatum, but they shrug it off and they leave together. And we get Axiom versus Damon Kemp. Axiom uses a lot of high-flying offense as Kemp uses power moves and suplexes. Axiom hits a running kick to get the win. And then we get Briggs and Fallon backstage looking at Twitter posts of Brooks and Kiana's date. Fallon says she has to go tell him. So, Javi's back. You know how much we love to hate him. We get continuing on with this whole my coven idea, and I'm going to stick to it. So we'll see what happens on our next recording if that starts to come to pass. We get a decent match from Axiom, Damon Kemp. We get a contrasting styles, and Axiom of course goes over, and the continuing saga of Brooks and Kiana's dates. So anything you want to add on any of those? Any thoughts?
How dare you say we love to hate Big Body Javi? We only love Big Body Javi.
Speak for yourself.
I'm just playing. But I thought that segment was pretty well done. I liked that Ivy ended up kind of choking him out. So good stuff there. And I love that Isla Dawn seemed to possess a Bluetooth device somehow. She just her voice just kind of started happening from some random spot. So and then Axiom looked really good in his match. Obviously that was to continue to push him forward. He's obviously kind of gotten into a groove of being one of their really solid mid-card guys, somebody that can always go out there and put out a pretty good match, even if it's somebody like Damon, who's not super great in the ring. He's still kind of green, so definitely a good match for Axiom there. And then, like you said, continuation of the date saga, so that'll get much funnier and much more tense as the episode goes on.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we get Grayson Waller's Twitter video of him getting kicked out and keeps talking shit to HBK. Then we get Braun in ring, says his next challenger, is closest to him. And it brings out Jinder, actually, and Indus knock Carmelo and Trick. We got Braun and Jinder drawing at each other. It sets up a match for next week. Backstage, Carter and Chance go up to Roxanne and Meiko and apologize to Roxanne about last week. Then we get an Indy Hartwell interview. She enjoyed watching Gigi getting beat up by JC and then talks down JC Jane. Wesley has his North American Open challenge. And we get Tony D with Stacks. Comes out to answer, but Dijak attacks Tony from behind. During all this, Von Wagner attacks Lee from out of nowhere. And we get a Von Wagner versus Wesley match. And, Lee, Von manhandles him for a bit. And then we get Lee fighting back with his kicks. Eventually nails the cardiac kick for the win. Robert Stone stares down Lee and post-match. So we get a lot of in-ring interview stuff to set up some things with the, Braun and Jinder, I guess, which is a little, a temporary roadblock, so to speak, for each other. And then till he gets to Carmelo. Then we get Carter and Chance kind of, saying, basically eating some crow because they know that they got the Roxanne got herself a partner that is going to be tough for them to beat. We get Indy continuing to kind of build up for her to challenge JC next week, and then we get a decent North American title match, not the best, but moving I guess whatever they're doing with Von Wagner along. So anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I mean the Breaker Mahal thing, that's just a little placeholder for Braun to have a big match before he gets to Carmelo. Obviously, they have over a month of TV to kind of build to get to Stand and Deliver, so they kind of have to throw in these little side programs together for them to kind of get to that point. But you kind of starting to see cracks with Breaker and the NXT universe. They start to kind of boo him and say that he sucks throughout this promo. So that there's starting to be a little bit of a fracture between the fans and Braun, it seems. So I think, like I said earlier, maybe they're kind of pissed that they didn't give Grayson the belt at Vengeance Day. So, or just maybe just that sect of fans, just because they're obviously some are regulars and some bounce in and out throughout the tapings. I'm sure. But yeah, that'll be an interesting match. I won't say that that's going to be a all-time banger match to look forward to, but it'll be a good Hoss Fest. They're both big guys, so could be interesting for sure. I don't really think Katana and Caden needed to apologize. It was more to show respect to Meiko, I think. So, but yeah, that should be an interesting match to close the show for us tonight. And then the NXT North American title match was pretty good. Another solid showing by Von Wagner. He seems to be getting a little bit more comfortable in the ring, despite his character having flaws apparently. But Wesley shined here as well. So good match.
All right. Then we get Hank Walker backstage showing off his new gear to Drew Gulak, but he forgot his boots and ends up having to take a pair of Drew's. We get Hank Walker versus Charlie Dempsey. A quick match with Charlie Dempsey winning via submission. Gulak and Dempsey stare at each other post-match, and Gulak nods, and they leave together. And we get Von Wagner furious backstage. Robert Stone goes off on him and tells him he has no connection to the WWE Universe, has his walls up, and wants him to help you, help me, help you, continuing. And we get Gallus playing pool. Pretty Deadly shows up and tries to trick them into a match by playing them and getting them drunk. After all that, Gallus said all they had to do was ask, and they would get a match. Then we get a Dragunov interview backstage. He talks about his retribution on JD McDonough. Trick Williams appears on screen and calls him out. Dragunov goes out to the ring, and he hits him, sees it, sends him into the floor, and attack. JD comes out next. He runs down, and Trick attacks him from behind. JD goes into the ring, but Dragunov screams at him, and he backs off. So, actually, and then Carmelo is backstage. Trick tells him about fighting Ilja next week, and Melo warns him, about what he's about to do. So, a lot of good stuff here. We this continuing on with the Gulak and Charlie Dempsey stuff. The Von Wagner backstage drama with him and Robert Stone. The Gallus and Pretty Deadly have a really fun exchange. These teams have really good chemistry. I guess I'm guessing that they wrestle a lot over at NXT UK, and then we get Trick Williams basically is going to get fed to Dragunov basically in the next episode. So what do you have to say about this stuff?
Yeah, Charlie looked like a killer in his match with Hank. I thought that was a good way to put him over. And obviously, Gulak seems to be dumping poor Hank Walker at this point and going with Charlie, and they're going to do something together. Vaughn still doesn't know who he is. Mr. Stone still doesn't have a connection with him. He needs him to break his walls down, apparently. I thought that was a good little Jericho rib there. And then the pull segment was really well done. Yeah, they had a ton of matches in NXT UK, and I'm pretty sure Pretty Deadly won the NXT UK tag titles off of them. So they have a lot of history and a lot of good matches that they had. So definitely excited to see that one whenever it happens. And then, like I said in the previous episode, I'm really looking forward to the Ilja JD match that they eventually had. I would like to know how he hurt his eye. I don't remember if we saw how that happened, but JD comes out with a giant patch over his eye during this match, so that was interesting, little eyewear there. But yes, Trick is going to absolutely get murdered by Dragunov on the next episode. So
Yes.
He's going to get fed to the wolf for sure.
All right. So then we get Brooks and Kiana wrapping up their date. They're about to kiss at Kiana's front door, but Fallon with Briggs interrupts, accuses her of cheating on him. But Zach was just her brother. Fallon tries to apologize, but the guys walk off on her. Then we get our main event of the night, which is Roxanne Perez and Meiko Satomura versus Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. We get a fun match, lots of action. Roxanne eventually hits Pop Rocks on Carter for the win. Then we get Satomura ask Roxanne to return the favor as she did for her, and she wants a title match. Roxanne accepts and says it will be her honor. So looking forward to that as well. And that's going to happen, I believe, at Roadblock, which is another NXT episode coming up in a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously it's not the conclusion of the Brooks and Kiana story, but we see how the date ends up, and then we get this tag main event match here.
I just feel bad for Jensen. I wish he had gotten the kiss, but Ellen totally ruined it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Zach ends up being whoever the I Love You Zach ended up being just her brother that randomly lives at the same house that she lives at. I don't really get that.
I think he was dog sitting. Actually,
yeah, I think he was too, but it seemed like he was like sleeping there for the night too. So I really wasn't sure about that one. But yeah, I obviously it's not the end. I'm sure we'll get the big kiss eventually, but I'm sad that Fallon ruined it for him on this great Valentine's Day. But yeah, a really solid tag main event to end it. I think this might kind of be Caden and Katana's swan song. I think they might end up going to the main roster to be kind of a tag team in that division going forward. They're definitely experienced enough, and I think they're probably way better of a tag team than anybody that they can kind of throw together on the main roster. So I think they definitely could end up on the main roster pretty quickly. But this was obviously just a setup, Meiko and Roxanne for a title match at some point, and that should be a banger. So I'm looking forward to that one, like you said.
All right, so that's going to wrap up what we're covering on this episode. What do we got for stock up this month? I got Tiffany Stratton as definitely a stock up. Any for you?
I think Sol Ruka got a couple of like video segments. They're obviously trying to focus on building her character a little bit more. So yeah. The fact that she got a couple of those, I thought was pretty good. She didn't win her match that she had, but I think she's obviously shown that she's going to be a big deal going forward.
Yeah, I got JD, making his return, having some good stuff. Elektra Lopez, Stevie Turner with a really good in-ring debut. Anybody else? Wesley, yeah, definitely had a good month. Trying to think who else had Axiom had a good month. Tyler Bate, he's up. Roxanne, of course. JC Jane, does the big turn and is going to get a bit of a push here. And any stock down?
I had one on the tip of my tongue and I just forgot it. Do you have anybody off the top of your head?
Hank Walker. We got him.
Von Wagner. Yeah, Von Wagner too.
Von Wagner. Let's see who else. I think we could go into stock up. Isla Dawn. Kind of building her character. I definitely could see Tatum Paxley, her being stock up in the next month.
Stock down, I would say Cora Jade. She only had that one interview. She obviously is continuing to be less and less featured, so I'd say she's a pretty bad stock down.
Yeah. Who else am I thinking of here? Indy. What do you think? Where do you think Indy is right now? Is she up or down?
She continues to lose, but. I'd say she's probably a little bit down. I think she just needs to go to the main roster. She's ready. I think there's more for her there than there is in the NXT division. I think they're obviously going for a couple of younger girls that are coming up. So I don't really envision a path where she's going to be a champion of any sort. So I think it's time for her to just go up.
Yeah, I think she's in that position where she's doing the jobs on the way out, putting other people over, because she will be up, I think, before long. Odyssey Jones stock down. I mean, kind of a nothing showing there against Stacks. What about your favorites? Blade and what's his face?
Anofe.
Anofe and Blade. Yeah.
They only had the one match. They only had the one match, and I don't think they were terrible in it. So I'll give them a break this episode.
Okay. Where would you put your beloved Gigi, up or down?
Maybe down, just because she hasn't reappeared yet. So she obviously got bitched out pretty bad by JC in the Ding Dong Hello segment. So maybe down for now. But she probably has the chance to go up on the next episode. Yeah.
All right. So obviously they're going to be building up. Our next episode, will be about 4 weeks from now, and it'll be probably it'll drop about 10 days before Stand and Deliver, I'm guessing, a week to 10 days. So we should be able to do our preview, because the card should hopefully be set by then. But what do you think we could be seeing over the next month? You any matches you think that could be built? Any turns? Any momentum changes? Because I think obviously there's going to be a few people going to be leaving NXT in the next month or two, I think, to go to the main roster, and I think we're going to get, not a reset, but some changes coming on. Some people moving up, maybe some new faces coming in. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe a couple of those more experienced people kind of going up for Mania season to be in, some kind of big tag team women's match that they may have at WrestleMania. But yeah, the Meiko Roxanne match, I don't know if it's going to happen on an episode of NXT or if they're going to push it to Stand and Deliver. That's obviously a match that's going to happen at some point, if not at both. But we obviously have Braun and Jinder, so that'll be a big match on tonight's episode, that actually, as we're recording. But yeah, I think there's a lot of chances for a lot of good things to happen. I think we obviously get some more push towards the Tony D, Dijak, and Wesley triple threat. I think that's definitely where we end up with that one. Maybe they do some kind of maybe they do a ladder match at Stand and Deliver, but it's for some kind of like number one contendership kind of thing. So maybe it's like a Money in the Bank for NXT kind of thing. So definitely a lot of paths they can go. But I think it's going to be an exciting build to an exciting show.
Oh, yeah. I think there's going to be, we obviously have the Chase Youth Schism thing going. We have the Isla Dawn possibly expanding. You have the Elektra and Valentina thing. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here, and looking forward to seeing what this brand has to offer and will be building to. Obviously, the Grayson Waller HBK thing is going to lead all the way to Stand and Deliver. Will it be HBK, or will he have a surrogate, like somebody wrestling in his stead? Because I think Sean has said he's done in ring. So
yeah, but I think nothing can be worse than his last match. So I think he might want to redeem himself a little bit, but we'll see. I just don't know who the surrogate could be. It would have to be a pretty big deal, I think, if you're gonna play that card. So I think we might just get Grayson versus Sean. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah.
That could be interesting.
it'll be something. I'll tell you.
I almost wonder if it'll be on WrestleMania instead of Stand and Deliver, though, because I don't know. I just feel like that would be more of a Mania match to have Sean have one more match. So who knows?
I don't know, man. He's the guy though at NXT. He may do it because that's his brand. I mean, he's the leading force there now that Trips is running the whole show up top. So it's going to be very interesting. Anything you want to plug? Any recent pods or any social medias you want to call out?
you can follow me at Highway PTBN on Twitter. We just recorded a recent episode of YouTube Roulette. We did a bunch of Jay Briscoe matches. Rest in peace, obviously. We did that in his honor. We watched a couple of his great Ring of Honor matches in his memory. Highway to the Impact Zone, we're building towards Destination X right now. We should be recording that episode coming up next week. And then the other two shows here on the wrestling feed are Chicken Salad and Starflation. I do both of those with Ben and Callum. Wrestling Chicken Salad is about worst pay-per-views of all time. Just kind of going through them and seeing where they rank among the worst of all time. And then Starflation's the 5-star matches from Dave Meltzer. We're kind of re-rating them based on the new 7-star scale. So that's what I got.
All right, cool. As for me, here on the Wrestling Network, this is my only current show. Could maybe one day bring back Evolution. There is talk of a new host taking over the wrestling version of Making Mount Rushmore, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, wrestling's great debate is always, in the back of my mind. On the PlayStation Pop Experience, my primary home, I got, the video jukebox song of the day. It's, we have a nice pool, but it's usually myself, Steve Riddle, and Keith Langston handling those, and that drops every weekday as a nice little pod blast to start your day. Also, check out Pop Goes the Classics. I am dropping my Pixar rewatches there randomly, as well as my Blockbuster rewatch. Live watches are going down, and the newest episode of Pop Goes the Classics, the Disney series, where we're going through all the Disney animated features. The latest episode, Mulan, recently just dropped, actually the day before this pod drops. And then coming next week is episode 2 of Cartoons of Our Youth. Tim Capel came by, and we talked about his favorite cartoon, which is Gargoyles, and we did a live watch of 2 episodes. It was a ton of fun. We're looking forward to that. And then coming up about mid-March, early to mid-March, is going to be the next episode of Traders of the Lost Arks. Myself, Sean Kidd, Scott Schiffler, and Tim Capel. We're going to be doing a Avengers comics arc, which Hank Pym is really the central focus of. Has some nice synergy there with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah, and just check out everything that's going on in the PlayStation Facebook group, and check out our friends over at the North-South Connection. And like I said earlier, Logan took part in their live watch on YouTube of Vengeance Day, so go check that out on their YouTube page. And don't forget, check us out on Stream Lounge. Coming up to WrestleMania season, there will be a bunch of wrestling streams, live watches on there, so just keep your eyes and ears open. I know the Podfather is going to be doing WrestleMania 3 right before this year's WrestleMania, so lots of fun stuff. I am not sure how many WrestleManias or which WrestleManias I could do. Just depends on who I could get to watch them with me, because those are long shows, and I need help. Please, in more ways than you guys would ever know. But anyway, so this was a great month, a great episode, and I want to say thank you to my good friend Logan Crosland for once again talking NXT with me, and we will check you out in a month or so. Till then, I'm Andy Atherton for Logan Crosland. Take care.